Hey guys, it's Vixen. If you are new here, my name is Vixen. I'm a college student and I love to read and do crochet and hang out with my dogs and all that fun stuff. And if you're not new here, welcome back. Thank you for coming back and watching. This video is going to be my mid-year check-in slash mid-year freakout tag. I'm crediting Carrie Can Read. I'll link her down below and I'll probably try to put her up there if I can for the idea. But basically in this video I'm going to be answering some questions of the books so far of this year that I've read and which books correlate to the questions, and then at the end the books I still want to read before the year is over, and then the book that I'm currently reading. There is going to be a few where I have to insert because I do not actually have them on me in person. Some of them are also digital and I have them on my Kindle app. Okay, so let's get into that. For the first question was the best book read so far this year. Obviously had to go back and see what books I've read. I did get rid of any questions about like characters other than maybe one, but because I don't have a great memory of certain characters, there's only one character that, other than like what I'm currently reading, only a few characters I do remember, and it's because they gave me a lasting impression. So, but for the best book I've read so far this year, I said A Touch of Chaos by Scarlett St. Clair. This is the 7th book in the Persephone and Hades series. There was a sticker on this clearly. It was the final book. I bought it as soon as it came out. I actually pre-ordered this and it was so good. And it's a thick book, but I read it fairly quickly. I loved it a lot. But yeah, that was my best book, aka my favorite book so far this year. And then the next one was best sequel read so far. Just said the last book in the Shadow and Bone trilogy, which is Rune and Rising. I personally love the ending. The second book was not the best because it kind of dragged the story out a little bit, and I do think it could have been combined into just a duology. But I did love this book. It is by Leah Bardugo. It's a great book, and I can't wait to start the next book in the Grishaverse. And then the next one was a new release you haven't read yet but want to. Right now I've currently really started reading a lot of Emily Henry, and I've started reading her, so I think I've read 2 books by her and I really liked them. So I want to read Funny Story, which I will insert a photo, by Emily Henry. So I know it's romance. That's what I know. I don't know much about that book, but I just know it's by Emily Henry, and almost all of her books have been really touching for me, like heart-touching or heart-wrenching. She writes really good characters that express their like anxieties and insecurities really well. Well, maybe not express them, but like she writes it as you can see that that's happening. The next one was the most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I also do not have that book yet, but I can insert a photo. It is This Blood That Breaks Us by S.L. Coakley. I have the first 2 books, which are back there, the pink and slightly salmon color, and the last two books in the series are coming out in November and December, and I cannot wait for those books to come out. I really want to get to read those, because it's like a little cozy vampire romance with drama. But it's really nice. I really love it. The next one was my biggest disappointment so far. I do love Stephen King. I have a bunch of Stephen King right behind that fan there that I've read, and I read Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. I don't think this is his best work. I did enjoy it. I didn't enjoy certain aspects, but it felt very drawn out, very slow. I think it was right about here that it started picking up for me. There's a note, because at the very beginning there was a lot of him quoting, not quoting, but mentioning his other stories or movies, and then mentioning like TV shows and all that. And I'm like, you really out here like actually mentioning things. And I'm like, well, okay then. But it was infuriating, kind of like how they wouldn't listen to a lot of people. And he was like, I want to do it all by myself. I want to do it all by myself. And then just the fact that there was so much suspense at the end. And then to find out there's more books in the series. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. Because, like, why? And then the next one was a favorite new author. I am going to butcher this person's name, and I feel so bad. I think it was this year, they got their story from Webtoon actually published. It's called Covenant, but their name is Lysandra Vyong. I am so sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. It's mainly written on like romance in a religious setting, and then obviously like, and then the next one was newest favorite character. I read The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas, so I could read. I was trying to figure out, should I read this before or after Throne of Glass? I decided I was going to read it before. And my favorite character out of this was Selena. I remember parts of this book even now, and I read this like a few months ago, and I'm just like every once in a while, like I think I was reading another story right after this, and I'm like, wait, doesn't this happen? I'm like, wait, no, that's a different book. But it's like, that's how intense it was for me. Like, and then at the end, I'm like, I gotta know what happens. Like, you can't just do that to her and not tell me what happens right afterwards. So, it's very, like, I'm surprised I haven't read Throne of Glass yet. I think it's because I put so many, like, series in my TBR for this year, and I'm like, I'm on a book buying ban, y'all. Like, I'm trying to spend less money because I'm a college student and I got loans. And I like to own physical copies. I understand the thing, like, go to the library. I do use digital books a lot, but, like, sometimes I just need the physical copy. And with series, that's one of the things I like to have the physical copy of. So, but yeah. And then the next one was a book that made you cry. We have Happy Place by Emily Henry. This one made me cry because of how similar the character is to myself. And I read this month. But it just, like, seeing their struggles are very similar to my own struggles, and then seeing them work through that themselves, I'm like, what? So, like, it made me cry for myself and for the character. But it was, like, more like a happy cry. Sometimes a sad cry. But, like, yeah, it was intense. I gave it a 5 stars. It was really good. And then the next one was a book that made you happy. And I was like, well, I can't put that one for both of them. So I said The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. And this is basically about two people that are pinned there since, like, childhood, like a magical world. And, but it's also a romance. So, these people are, one of them has to eliminate the other in a certain, like, in a way. But romance. So yeah, it's very interesting. The very beginning was really weird, and then I got further and further, and I'm like, it's a very cozy suspense. Like, it's a suspense that you can sit in for a while without feeling overwhelmed. The most beautiful book I bought or received, I also said A Touch of Chaos. But yeah. Then the books I want to read or need to read by the end of the year. I have to answer this. I don't actually know a lot of, like, what these books are really about. I know, like, maybe some of their tropes. So, like, the first one is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. I actually have no clue what that one's about. The title's interesting. The cover's really interesting. I actually saw it in my high school before I graduated. And I was like, oh, I want to read that. And then I graduated and I was like, well, I can't read that now. Like, I can go to the library and read it, but I'm like, I kind of want to own that book. Like, that looks so beautiful. And there's like some series or books that I've read during high school that I'm like, I might need to reread those. Like, I kind of want to go back and get them. Like, I want to order them and reread them. And I don't usually like to reread books. The next one in the TBR was The Only One Left by Riley Sager. This is a, like, mystery thriller. It is about a woman who had a lot of murders around, well, deaths around her. And she hasn't told anyone what has happened or what happened then. And now that she's, like, grown past that and she's finally, like, right about to die, she is telling, I don't, like, is it her maid or something? But she's telling someone that is helping her, like, taking care of her. And they are starting to believe, they think, they don't fully trust her, but, yeah. The next one was Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I know it's a romance. I know it has ordinaries and people with powers, and yeah. But yeah. And the next one was The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I actually did not hear about this through like YouTube or anything. I heard about this through a person on, well, at my college, and because I asked some, or like a random person on like a Twitter kind of, but it wasn't actually Twitter, it was like a college-based social media app, and I like found someone else that likes to read, and I'm like, well, what do you like to read? They're like, oh, like mystery thriller, and I'm like, oh, cool, I like to read so many different types of genres, and I'm like, okay, like, and they're like, have you ever read Lucy Foley? I'm like, no, I don't think I have. So I looked it up, and it's just been kind of stuck in my brain that this is like an author I need to read, and now that I know about it, I've actually noticed it in more YouTube videos. But yeah. This was not the one I actually was going to read. I was going to read The Paris Apartment first, but I'm like, The Guest List sounds intriguing. And then we had The Picture of Dorian Gray, I'll Insert a Photo by Oscar Wilde. I actually have this on my Kindle, well, my Kindle app, and I just haven't read it yet. I have no clue what it's about other than that it's a classic. But yeah, and the next one was Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and I have no clue what that was about either other than it's a girl. And basically, I've gotten more into classics. I think I'm on my second classic so far. And the first one I had to listen to an audiobook at the same time, and now this one I'm actually, like, I'm reading through. It's just kind of going slow for me. The next one is Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir? I don't know how to pronounce this. I know it's a LGBTQ romance fantasy, and it's a youth book. But this is like a part of a series, but it has swords and necromancy and romance and enemies to lovers, that type of stuff. The next one was Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I have no clue what this is about. I really like the cover though. So they say don't judge a book by its cover, but sometimes if the cover is so beautiful that you just want to own the book, yes. And if you read other books by that same author, and their books have been good. Yeah. And then there was The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Sharon. I know there's dragons. I know there's a lot of politics. It's a very long book. But that's all I really know about it. And I still want to read it. Even though like everyone's like giving it bad ratings. And they say it's slow. And I'm like, I still want to read it. It has dragons. I'm obsessed with dragons. Probably as you could tell, there's a lot of dragons behind me. And then the next one was Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. Some of these I just got today. Like I did a Prime, I put some money down for myself to spend on Prime Day. But most people own like the hardcover, and I saw I'm like, I wish I was. I kind of want the hardcover, but I read paperbacks easier. I have no clue really what this is about, other than it's something with romance in it. I just know that other people enjoyed reading it, and I want to enjoy reading it. And then there is Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley. I have no clue what this is about. I just think the cover is beautiful. And yeah. It just, yeah. And then there is Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Lin Tan. I think it's like a Chinese history type of themed book. It's fantasy as well. I don't know really what it's about. I just know some other people enjoyed reading it, and it looks very pretty. So, yeah. The next book is Lessons in Chemistry. This is like bright pink by Bonnie Garmis. I actually did not want this cover. I wanted the original cover, like the different colors and like all the chemistry pieces, like elements. But, you know, you don't always get what you want. But yeah. I know it's about a girl in STEM, in history, where girls in STEM were not a thing, really. And then we have Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabriel Zevin. I know it's like a cozy, adventuristic kind of book. It's about two people developing a game. And some people like it, some people don't. Very mixed reviews. I don't 100% know if I'm going to get the physical book, the digital, or just go to the library for it. But yeah. The next book is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Very beautiful cover. I've heard a lot of people love this series. But I just know it's about a girl and her dealing with inheritance and all that. But yeah. And then the next one was Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I know this is about a romance, and I think there's letters involved. It's supposed to be a fantasy. I've heard this one is less fantasy. The second book is more fantasy driven. This one's more romance driven. But I'm very sure it's like there's letters involved and a little bit of magic and all that. And then the next book is House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. She's a chunky one. I've heard this is very like slowish. There's some politics and all that. This is a part of the Crescent City series. That's all I know. It's Sarah J. Maas, and so far I've loved Sarah J. Maas. So. And then we have The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. Oh my god. By Holly Black. There's a prince. This is a novel of elf fame, but it's just, oh god, please don't tell me this is apparently it's another verse type thing that I have to look into. But yeah, that's all I really know. I tend to go into books not knowing exactly what they're about, other than if they're romance or like fantasy and that type of stuff. The next one I had was Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I will be reading this before the year is over. I 100% know that. This is obviously a fantasy and, you know, dystopian vibe, all that. And then the last book was The Fine Print by Lauren Asher, which is a romance and all that stuff. But I think it's like a Disney World romance. I don't remember exactly. But lastly, like fully lastly, the last thing we're going to talk about is what I'm currently reading. I'm actually currently reading Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, which is going so slowly. because it's so descriptive, and I didn't remember what the book was about until I like re-looked at it, and it's basically about one day in Mrs. Dalloway's life and all the details of one day. And I'm like, you really wrote over 100 pages about one day. That's a lot. I'm actually currently at page 72. That's where I ended last night. But yeah, so that is my mid-year check-in or freak out or any of that. That's actually not all the books I've read this year so far, but that is a nice, a good amount. And then all the books I want to read, which is a nice old big old pile. But hopefully I'll be able to get through that. I listed like 21 books out of the 24 books I assigned to myself in 2024. I've read 32 books so far this year. My goal is 50. I know I'm probably going to pass that, but I'm not trying to reach 100 right now, y'all. Like, I already have to read textbooks a lot, and I'm in a medical assistant program, and I'm working on other projects and all that. But anyways, in the comments, write down what you thought of some of the books I have read so far. So yeah. And then, thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe if you want more like this. If you don't, I totally get that. I'm not for everyone, but yeah. Thank you guys for watching.